It's an Ask the Expert Saturday morning on News 96.5. Good to have you along with us. My name is Kirk, and this is Florida Homes and Gardens, and we're live in the studio on this overcast and dreary kind of day. It's the kind of day you want to pull up an armchair, grab a cup of cocoa, coffee, pick up the phone, and call your favorite experts, from the doctors to the car mechanics to the lawyers to the designers. And we have the designers on Florida Homes and Gardens today. We've got Bill Burke from S&W Kitchens in the studio today, and I understand that you're kind of going solo today. So it's the S&W Kitchen Show. Is that what it is?
It is.
Okay. Well,
Tim and Bill had some previous obligations.
Don't tell the guys from Accurate Window and Door and Benjamin Franklin Plumbing, our other sponsors.
No, we'll do them proud today.
Absolutely. Today we're going to talk about some things going on around your house, and we have some questions that we've answered via email that we're going to get to as well, and text questions. We're going to do 3 big things you should know before you replace your countertop with S&W Kitchens, and I understand he is the in-house resident expert on countertops, designer Chris. Chris, I didn't get your last name. How are you?
Good. It's Druschel.
I'll just call you Chris.
That's fine with me.
Nice to have you in the studio, man.
It's great to be here.
Bill, what are you all grinning about over there?
He's just such a goofy kid sometimes.
No, he's a young guy.
No, listen, the reason that I brought him in today, I really wanted to talk about it. We've touched on this before in the past on some of the previous shows, and I really wanted to talk about countertop replacements. Mm-hmm. Chris is an expert in the granite. You know, each of us seem to have our areas of passion, and you know, an area that someone might be more in tune with than others. So Chris comes from a background, and he can speak to it if he likes, but he comes from a background from the stone industry, you know, hands-on experience that I don't have. So I actually lean on him for questions about granite and quartz countertops.
Here, I got a question about it.
Okay.
Why is it so expensive?
Well, that's a great question.
Why is it? You know why? 'Cause I saw it on TV the other day. I saw them, would it be called mining or harvesting? Mining slabs.
Yep.
It's not an easy job.
No, they blast it off the side of a mountain.
No, they cut it with diamond saws and everything, right, Chris?
Oh yeah, it's a pretty elaborate process. Very costly. Not just because of the material, it's the labor and all the work that goes into getting the slab here, more so than the actual rock itself.
And
right.
you know, you can ride down any road here in Central Florida, and eventually you're going to run across those same slabs leaning up against something there that people are selling.
Correct.
Yeah, they put them on the A-frames, and you see them all over the place. You see those signs on the side of the road that say granite countertops installed for $24.99 a square foot or $19.99 a square foot.
But they're big old rectangles. How do you cut them to measure your countertop, Chris?
How do we come to measure the countertop? Well, what we do is we make a template first, usually out of some sort of styrofoam or fiberboard. Make a replica, because every single kitchen is unique in its own way. And we'll take that and we'll place it on the slab. And you can actually see what part of the slab is going to go on what part of your counter, especially when you have more intricate pieces of granite. Maybe there's a red blob on the lower left quadrant, and you want that right in the middle of your island or something. So you get to kind of play around. I refer to it as playing Tetris, kind of, because you got to fit the pieces on there properly. And if you don't fit them properly on one slab, you go into 2, which sometimes, you know, could lead to other obstacles.
So now you got this template, and you take it back, to the shop?
Yeah, it goes back to the fabrication facility, and they're going to cut it with a bridge saw with about a 13 to 14 inch diameter diamond saw blade.
Mm-hmm. And that in itself is going to make a pretty radical edge. And I'm thinking, what do you do? Do you sand down the sides to round them off?
Before we get to that, let's just kind of back up a little bit on the stone itself, because they blasted off the side of the mountain, right?
Right.
So then, and Chris and I were having this discussion a week or so ago in preparation for the show, because, you know, believe it or not, this doesn't just come natural to us here. We actually do our homework, right? So we were talking about how does it get the shiny appearance. We were also talking about sealers and things like that. So if you would, you know, they cut, so where we left off is you cut it and you have a raw edge. But even before that, how does it get that shine to it?
Yeah,
well, they blast it off the mountain and then Go ahead, finish
Well,
that
let
up,
me
then.
preface this by saying that there was no preparation for the show.
Okay.
But
As you can plainly tell.
But anyways, no. I mean, once they take it comes off in about the size of tractor trailer trucks. That's how big they blast these pieces
Right.
out of the
It's
sides.
amazing, man.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And then what they end up with is roughly a 10-foot by 6-foot chunk. It's like a big cube, like a big dice, essentially. And they'll slice it like bread. I mean, they're using diamond blades, and like a seesaw motion is how they cut them all
Right.
at the same time. And they're all slightly different thicknesses because as much as technology has advanced, the way that all these are cut is still pretty archaic. So one slab might be an inch and an eighth, one might be an inch and quarter. So it kind of has some variance. Same thing with the size of slabs. Most of the ones from India tend to be bigger generally. I don't know if they just have bigger tolerances there for the sizes of the slabs. Most of them are from South America, though, but they're all over the place.
We don't mine the granite here. I would think that we mine the granite up north.
No, most of the granite here that comes from Vermont,
The granite state.
and the Carolinas, and everywhere up there, it's mainly used for commercial use, like sides of buildings or parking curbs
Or cemeteries.
I
gotcha.
But they're not generally attractive. They're grays and pink scales.
Gotcha.
Here.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and once they slice those, slice it into the slices or sheets or slabs, they're going to squeegee on this epoxy resin. And what that does is they bake it in, okay? So that's going to fill all the pores so it's impervious to penetration, basically.
Right.
So that's what's considered the sealer. So when we tell people that it comes sealed from the right from the fabricator, that's the part that's been sealed. It's a baked on resin.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And then furthermore, they generally will put a solvent or chemical on top of that, which helps, it's almost like a Rain-X that they put on top of it, made for granite that is like another form of defense, I guess you could say.
Right. So then fast forward to the part where cabinetry is installed. They've come out. They've made the templates. So now the raw edges that are cut to the template. You have your edge, the leading edge of the countertops. You also have your undermount sink cutouts as well.
Yeah.
How are those treated?
Well, once they're cut, it's going to be a raw edge, so it's no longer shiny and pretty. It's not going to match the rest of the stone. Once you have that, you go through about 10, it depends on the exact stone, 10 to 12 different polishing pads. It's almost like sanding wood. You start at a 50 grit and you go all the way up. And then that's how you get that shine. And then that's where you'd actually use the chemical or solvent sealant there. Sometimes you can actually heat up special wax and you apply that. And that fills in any small little pores if there's any remaining at this point. And then you kind of steel wool it off. But that's how you treat all the edges to make it all uniform.
And the undermount sink cutouts as well.
Correct.
So when you see those signs that are in the side of the road that have seemingly a low and attractive price, an average kitchen might have about 60 square feet plus or minus of countertop. So let's use $30 a square foot just to make the math easier. So that's about $1,800 to redo an average kitchen if you live in the Conway area or Windermere or Wekiva
Does that
Sweetwater
include
area.
installation?
Well, that's the thing about it is that might be what the cost is for the stone, but then you have your sink cutouts and your cooktop cutouts, your backsplash.
Takes a lot of work.
In addition to that, one of the three big things is to consider the domino effect when you're replacing your countertops. It's not just merely removing your tops and putting in new countertops, although that's the essence of it.
Yeah.
What you have in effect is you need some minor plumbing work, and sometimes it can turn into major plumbing work if you need your drain lowered, and we can touch on that. If anyone has any questions about that, go ahead and call into the show or email or text 21232 21232. You can text any questions in. But there's the domino effect. So you have minor plumbing, you have minor electrical, you're going to have touch-up paint, that goes along with that. You're going to have some touch-up carpentry that needs to be done at times. If you have one of those raised countertops, there's trim that goes underneath the raised countertop that we replace and make sure that all of those things are taken care of. So it's a little disingenuous and, in my mind, disrespectful to have those signs on the side of the road that say $29 or $25.99 a square foot, because that's not the truth of it.
In the studio along with Chris, and Chris and Bill are both designers, and Chris is an expert on countertops. And one of the questions we're going to get to later on is, what do I do, when I have a stain on that countertop? How can I pull that out of there? Is there a, what is it called? Solstice? What's it? No. The
poultice.
What is it?
Poultice.
Poultice.
Yeah.
I almost said a car name.
Yeah.
Or did I?
I think you did.
Poultice. Okay. We'll talk about that coming up as well, and other kinds of countertops that we can talk about. But the question I have to put to you right straight here is, have you ever got down to just about delivery time? You're looking at that countertop in the shop, and it's ready to go out on the truck to the happy customer, and then all of a sudden, there's a crack, and it's no good anymore. Has that ever happened?
I've seen it happen.
How depressing is that?
It is, especially if you've picked out a really unique stone and you're not going to find another one that looks at all like it. That's when it's terrible. And it can be repaired sometimes, just depends on the extent and where the location of the crack is.
You've seen that kind of stuff, right?
I've seen about all of it in my years, but it happens. In fact, it happened recently on a job of mine up in the Tuscaloosa area. Beverly and Marlon, if you're listening, please forgive us. But, we took care of it is the bottom line. We had enough stone left over from the same material to be able to repair it. So it does happen. And I would tell you that it happens rarely, but it's one of those things that sometimes you come across.
You know what they say in the plumbing industry.
That's right.
Yeah. Speaking of plumber, our resident plumber, Bill Heichel from Benjamin Franklin Plumbing, taking the weekend off to be with his family, along with Tim Padaraki from Accurate Window and Door. We'll tell you about our fine sponsors coming up in this program. But before we go to the news center, Bill, Chris, if somebody wanted to get a hold of S&W Kitchens and have you come out for, like a no obligation talk about maybe changing out their countertops, how would they set that up?
Well, we do more than just countertops. We do kitchens and bathrooms and utility rooms. And, of course, I love to always talk about libraries that we do as well. But please call us, 407-965-1120. And we do a total turnkey job as well, not just the design or just the cabinetry. We get our arms around the whole project. So if you call today, Maddie will pick up the phone and she'll direct you where you need to go, 407-965-1120. You can visit any one of our 5 showrooms in Central Florida: Longwood, Winter Park on Orange Avenue, Palm Harbor, the showroom in Melbourne, and there's a new one in Tampa as well, South Tampa.
Find out all about it on the website at S&W Kitchen. Spell out the word and. SandWKitchens.com.
Let their great designers agonize over every detail. They're really creative. They'll design your project for any budget. They'll provide all the materials, including the cabinetry, the countertops, tiles, backsplashes, flooring, sinks, faucet, you name it, they'll do it. That's the way they roll at S&W Kitchen, serving Central Florida from coast to coast with 5 offices. Check them out on the web, WKitchens.com, or call them right now at 407-487-4901. That's S&W Kitchens.
The 3 things you need to know before you replace your countertops. We've been talking about some of them here on News 96.5. We talked about a little bit about the harvesting of the countertops. Where do they come from? I thought they all came from up north somewhere where the rock was hard, like granite in Vermont, the Granite State, or wherever, New Hampshire, that stuff. But I'm wrong. Most of the countertops that you love in those kitchens come from like South America and places like India.
Yeah, they come from all over the world, really.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Bill Burke from S&W Kitchens is here, along with Chris with S&W Kitchens, and they're experts when it comes to this kind of stuff. I'm not. You've forgotten more than I'll ever know. But I do remember being on your website, and I saw this one ivory-looking stone. I mean, it really looked exotic, and I'm thinking, boy, I got to have that.
Was it the White Rhino?
White Rhino, and, not to be mistaken with the White Rhino that people sell in Colorado smoke shops.
Right.
But, it's called White Rhino or something like that. You could see it online. Just do a Google. It's beautiful. Do you have any more of that left?
I'm sure we could track some of it down, but in all of our showrooms, we have all these countertops installed in kitchens. So we have full scale kitchens. There's probably 10 in the Longwood showroom, and the Winter Park showroom, there's almost as many. We have different types of countertops. Granite is not the only countertop material. It's predominant, I would tell you. Quartz is making a big inroads.
We were going to talk about the other kinds coming up here after the news.
Yep.
So hang on to that thought. We have the quartz and we have the Formica, like I have. I have Formica countertops that I put in my house 12 years ago. I think it was 11 or 12 years ago, and they look just like granite.
Yeah, I have the same ones, and I put mine in about 12 years ago, just before my daughter was born. They look great. They look brand new. They look like stone as well. I put a beveled edge on them and a beveled edge on the backsplash as well.
That's what I should have done.
Yeah, I did it to stay within budget on the project that we did, and the intention was that we would.
Do people continue to ask you guys about Formica? You would think that it would be, no.
Very, very.
I don't want my Formica anymore. I'm tired of it.
My grandfather up in the Villages, actually, he has put Formica in, and it's the high definition Formica.
Oh yeah,
and it looks pretty similar to granite.
It has
it's a good option.
The newer Formica has, like the one that your grandfather did, has it has a texture to it that kind of replicates the look of the stone. It has a glossy finish on it as well.
Yeah, I think they have gloss and matte. They have a few different options.
Yeah, and they might have the little sparkly quartz-like pieces in it that you see in real stone. So.
All kind of good. We're going to talk about all the different kinds coming up here. You mentioned quartz. What other kinds are there to talk about?
There's marble and Corian countertops.
All right.
And other acrylics.
We'll take your phone call. Here, 855-297-9696, 855-297-9696, or you could text us at 21232. Also, again, in the studio, we've got the experts when it comes to your kitchen. Forgotten more than I'll ever know about the kitchen. I'm talking about Bill and Chris from S&W Kitchens, and you could talk to them, too, at 855-297-9696. We talked about granite countertops, but we're not just limited to granite.
No, of course not. There's many different surfaces you can put on your countertops. The quartz is making a lot of inroads. I try not to reveal my bias when I talk to clients about countertops. My preference is for granite because I like the organic nature of the material. Each stone is actually. Chris, you've been through plenty of granite yards and had hands-on experience. Each piece of stone, to me, is like a work of art. You look at some of the stuff down at some of the different distributors, and you go from one row to the next row and the next row, and there's one that's more beautiful than another. There's a stone called Salvador Dali that I'm particularly enamored of. I have a client that's in downtown Orlando that we're going to do some Salvador Dali. We put a picture of it up on the Facebook page not too long ago. So there are other materials, though, and the reason for that tangent was that the quartz manufacturers, and you've heard of some of the manufacturers, Silestone or Cambria, Caesar Stone, Avanza, Zodiac, which is made by DuPont. They're making inroads into making the quartz countertop look more like natural organic granite. So you might have some veining through it or some occlusions and things like that. Chris, we talked before about how granite is black.
A lot of people say, well, I don't want granite because you have to seal it. The truth is you do have to seal it once in a while. It's preventative maintenance. All it is, it's maybe a $10 can of spray that you can get almost anywhere nowadays. You spray it on and you wipe it off. That's the sealing process. A lot of people are scared that it's very involved. You have to have someone professional do it. It's just as easy as cleaning your countertops with soap and water.
Excellent.
That's all you got to do.
Excellent.
Yep, it's easy enough. The other thing is, if you'll call the number that we had mentioned before, 407-965-1120, Maddie will pick up the phone. If you're interested in the home show that's coming up at the UCF Arena, it's in the beginning of June. We'll have free passes. I don't have them right now, but we'll have them in the next couple of weeks, and we'll mail them out to you if you'll call Maddie and tell her that you're interested in the tickets. The other thing we wanted to talk about a little bit is for those of you over on the West Coast, we're doing the build-out in our Tampa showroom right now. We've got about, I think it's 1,500 or 2,000 square feet over there that we're building out. Right now it's on South McDill Avenue over there, and we're anxious to get going over there. Palm Harbor and Tampa last month had a great month for the company. We're really proud of what those guys do over there. So we've got a lot of good things going on.
And just think, it all started with two guys named S&W back in 1977, the year that Elvis died.
We got to start looking at
The year
positive
Star
things.
Wars.
That's right.
Something
The year
like
Star
that.
Wars.
Boogie Alive was the top song. Disco, not the Three Stooges, the Bee Gees.
There you go.
Or the Three Stooges, depending on, Actually, I kind of like the Brothers Gibb. All right, we need to break for news, followed by Olson on Law. Let me give you the number here for Ben Franklin Plumbing, 407-712-2202, or online at benfranklinplumbingfl.com, or call Accurate Window and Door. Get a second estimate there, would you? 407-673-1159. And again, S&W Kitchens.
407-965-1120, snwkitchens.com.
Thank you, Bill. Nice to see you. Stay tuned for Dave.